Hello everyone, this is Mato. Today coming with a new video. Woohoo! Alrighty. Today we are going to talk about this controller. And why? Why do we want to talk about this controller? First of all, this is not this is not sponsored or anything like that. This is just something that I found out that it even works like this, and I just wanted to mention it because people might not be aware of. They may own this controller and never tried to use it on PS5 or anything like that. And we're gonna talk a bit like a little bit around like a review to say some of the pros and the cons of the controller and why I think it is a cool thing if you have it to use it for Street Fighter 6. Alrighty, let's dive into it. First of all, we will have to talk about this controller came out. This is not a new controller. I don't believe you can buy the new unless you go into something like a retail and find it there because people didn't buy it. This came out in the PS4 era. I don't think it's nothing like new. Let me see if I can see anything on the controller saying when it was made. It doesn't. But yeah, that doesn't matter anyway. So this controller, what are the advantages? As you can see here, it's a kind of spiritual successor to what the Genesis and the Saturn controllers are. This is the M8-bit DO M30. It is way smaller, and I believe that is why kind of it is like a spiritual successor because it is a 6-button controller that can be played like all the way you like it. The D-pad is similar, supposed to be similar. We will get into that, and you have the shoulder buttons as well. But definitely, it doesn't like it feels like an evolution of that, right? Because a lot of people, it was even kind of a meme back in the day that, oh, if you don't have a Saturn pad, man, I can't play fighting games. Usually older players they will say that because they were used to play on the Saturn fighting games, which Saturn had a lot of fighting games actually. All right, moving on from that. Alrighty, we go. I have it here, Razer Ryan. It's a 6-button controller. I believe you're meant to play this way. I don't think this way will take many of the advantages that this controller has. So playing it like normally how you would use a controller like this and use 2 buttons with one finger here is kind of the way to be able to use shortcuts if you want and everything. So let's dive immediately to the pros and cons. The first I will gonna talk about the cons. This controller, as you can see here, this is the board, and the main con of this controller, as you can see, on the right side is the D-pad. Now, as you can see on the board here, it says V2, and something that I will have to show you here. Hopefully, it focuses. Come on, focus. Come on. Focus. Alright, so the PM193, the moment that you see 1 after PM, you know that this is the model 1. And when you see 2 on this is behind the controller, when you see the serial number PM2, it's the second version that has fixed the debug problem. But on the first one, they never did. So, what does that mean for you? If you have on one of the first bats, what can you do? Like, can you fix this? Yes, you can. What I used personally was I just opened up the controller and I used one of these from another controller that I had. I cut this off, I cut a little bit circular, and I put it in the hollow spot to work as a pivot. Because that is what this D-pad is missing. And if you saw many reviews back in the day, it is very mixed because first of all, people were not aware that there was a version 2. And some people will say this D-pad is trash, and some will say this D-pad is fine. I don't know why they say it's trash. It is because of that reason. So, what does that mean again for you? You can use something like that. This can be found inside other controllers if you own any old one and you're fine with opening it and pretty much killing that controller to not use it again. You can definitely take one of these. This, I believe, this is the membrane buttons things that exist in almost all the controllers. And you only need one. You don't need to cut this all of this. You just need one part. And you just cut a little bit with a scissor. Circular should be fine. The biggest thing that you will have to do is to open up the controller. Now, there are too many guides out there on how to do that. I'm not gonna teach you how to do that. It is very easy. You have to kind of remove these plates a little bit first, and then just unscrew everything, and you will be able to do it. Not a big deal. I am not handy at all with these kind of things, and I was able to do that. And pretty much believe me, it is way more daunting to mod something like an arcade stick compared to this, because all you have to do is unscrew, screw it back, take some photos so you remember how everything was, and that's it. So as you can see, the idea of using that pivot is because, as you can see here in the picture, it has this gel-like thing that this pivot, right, has to remain there. Otherwise, when you are putting your thumb, I assume you will put your thumb, when you put your thumb on top of the D-pad, it will start going everywhere. But when you have the pivot there, that actually most likely won't happen. Now, there are people that have already planned about this because they kind of like the design and they wanted to solve this. And what they have done is they have made already plans if you want to buy from someone from Etsy, to buy a 3D printed version of what I did, and would be way more reliable if you use that. I'm pretty sure you can buy off the if you live from another country and shipping doesn't make any sense. You could ask them if they could give you the 3D plans, so you can print it somewhere closer to you, so it doesn't cost you a fortune just to replace that thing. I'm pretty sure that will be fine. And one of the good things here is, as you can see, that this now this was the con, right? This was, in my opinion, the only objectively bad thing that this pad was doing, because everything else that this pad is doing is amazing. You have, first of all, you have too many things on this thing. You can use normally, as you can see, touchpad. You have the 6-button layout, mechanical. No one else is doing that. No one else even now is doing that. Hori has a lot of 6-phase buttons, but I don't believe that any of them is mechanical. I'm not sure about the Victrix. Maybe the 6-phase button plate is a mechanical one, but from what I saw, the other ones, they didn't look mechanical. If anyone knows about the Victrix, of course, again, the Victrix costs like 200 Australian dollars, and this, for me, I got it from eBay new 2 to 3 years ago, and it costed $30. So there is big difference in price. Don't compare this with that. All right, because this is very dedicated controller to what it does. Moving on. We have now to say the pros. As I said again, we have the mechanical buttons. All the buttons around on the controller are like very low profile, so you don't have to, like, one of the things that was annoying me before and I didn't pick up pad, was that you had to deal with some buttons just having, you have to press a trigger to do a heavy kick. I hated that, and that's why I never wanted to play Street Fighter with a pad, because I just couldn't cope with that. It was just, in my mind, was like, why would you ever want to press this button like that for a kick? So I completely skipped it. I have played other games with PS4 pad, like anime games that usually have 4 buttons, but never Street Fighter. Alright, moving on. What else good does this D-pad has? As you can see here, it has the hole here that you can use a 3.5 millimeter headphones. It works on PC as well. It works on PS5. It works with everything. So that is really good if you wanna just use your headset or whatever kind of thing you have, IEMs or anything. You can use this and you're good. Um, I'm not sure if the switches are hot fixable, but I would assume that since they did it like this, that you would be able to replace the switches if you wanted. Um, the D-pad, after you fix it, it feels really good. It feels like you have like a Saturn D-pad. It feels very close to that, and it feels really nice to play, especially when I started playing like more a little bit of charged characters and characters that actually have a little bit more movement, circular movement, not really DPs. Not that it has a problem with DPs, but it just felt more natural to slide your thumb around it, not really press it hard, but like you just go with the flow, and it feels really good. So I really like about this controller. It also has a tournament mode, as you can see here. This is the green button, but if I press these two together, it locks in on the tournament mode, and you can see behind. Now I cannot press the share, the start, and the PS button. I cannot press any of these. So if you are playing on a tournament, you won't have to feel any fear like to press any buttons and deduct any points for that. By the way, I think credits to Markman as well with Razer. I think back then it was kind of his inputs in these things. I'm not sure about all of them, but at least I know that he had some input definitely for this. And you can see the light turned green again, and you can open the menus like normal. Let me just hide this board. You can press everything like normal. No problem at all. Pretty good, pretty handy. The cable is probably the biggest cable I have seen in a controller. It is 3 meters, at least 3 meters. I was able to get it from the console on my living room, from my console to my couch that is quite far away. It's like 3 meters difference. I was able to get it comfortably, no problems at all. Felt really good about that as well, because other controllers that don't have a big cable, and you kind of feel like you may be compromising or having to use an extension USB cord. Moving on, what else I will have to say? Oh yeah, let's go to the advantages of this controller, right? Alright, so first of all, this PS4 controller, it's on PS4 mode, there is no PS5, because it was made like this, to have this function to be used in fighting games. I believe that they have just made it be like a legacy controller, like how you would use a licensed fight stick for PS4 to be able, like my Razer Panthera. I have the stick, and you could play natively PS5 games. This is a native PS5 game, as you can see here. This is a native PS5 game. And with this, you can also still play it. No problems at all. You want to play on PC? No problems at all. You want to play on PS5? No problems at all. Because we know that this will be the thing in the future. When you're getting a controller and you're getting for a controller to move it into a controller, a D-pad, a pad for Street Fighter 6, one of the fundamental things that I believe that you will have to do is to sit down and be like, okay, I cannot sit and think that people will continue be using PS4s for too long, because it will just be the end of the road, right? At some point, that's it. There is nothing else. So, what we have to do about this is that you kind of have to move on. You either will be able to use it with an adapter, your controller, or you will have to just adapt and do something else. There is very good compatibility with FGC Wingman. Brooke doing a really good job about this. But I believe if you want to switch to a D-pad, to a pad, and you have like, I think even the FGC Wingman doesn't work with pads, so you probably can't really, because it doesn't really emulate a pad um, or something like this. So that is kind of one of the issues that you will end up with. Like probably you cannot play with PS4 pad, the normal, the DualShock 4. You probably won't be able to play on PS5 because Sony doesn't want you to play with older things. That's pretty much it. Alright, moving on from this. If you want to use that, it's fine. That is completely fine. But if you have this controller or like you want to get it, if you can find a deal out of it, definitely know that you don't need anything else for compatibility. It works out of the box with PC and PS5, no problems at all. And you have the tournaments mode as we said, and now we're going to the biggest thing. Now, most controllers like this do have this, but I feel that for this one, because of the low actuation points of the triggers, there is no actuation point of the triggers here at all. Now, what happens here is that you have 6 face buttons, and it's something that a lot of other people started doing in their hitboxes now. They started modding it to have more buttons because they want dedicated buttons for DI and other things in order to have advantage over it, right? You see everyone started doing the designs already, taking over. So what is the big advantage of this controller over something like this? It has 2 additional macros. And how? So we have the 6 buttons here, and we have these buttons here that you can map it to be, instead of R1 and R2, you can have it to be L1 and L2. And then these buttons will be R3 and L3. What does that mean? That means that you can go to the control settings and you can go here to edit and you can have additional controls mapped. I wouldn't really worry about like in a controller like this, because you can push it with one finger or with your thumb, but wouldn't really worry about like these kind of things, like to map your throw there. But I will definitely map something there. You can have here, for example, if you play modern, you can map something else. Now on this one, I just mapped these three punches and 3 kicks, because what happens usually is that you actually don't get to have these buttons on the you don't get, if you're playing like this, it is impossible for you to hit, like, I don't know how big of a thumb you must have, and I have pretty big hands, um, to hit like the 3 face buttons. And if you play like this, a lot of people will be like, but yeah, I play like this on the pads. I don't think this is the right way on this one. Even though it gives you more dexterity, if you do it on this controller, you're kind of losing all the extra buttons. So like, why would you lose 4 macros to play like this? If you're playing Tekken, fine, because you have like 4 face buttons and you can pretty much do most of the stuff there. And you can just map something like weird crosses there. So like something like X and triangle to map it here, if you can press it like that. But yeah, I believe that this is a very good controller. If you want to try it, give it a try. I wouldn't recommend buying it like you will see like on eBay, someone is selling it even more than how much it costed originally. I don't think it is very wise, because you can get something like, if you really wanted, you could get something like Hori Octa controller for PS4, which probably would work with PS5 the same way this one is, because that is also a dedicated fight pad. But I believe, in my opinion, if you find a deal on this or you already own it, it is cool to try it at least, to fix the D-pad, see how you feel after about it. But I wouldn't really say, oh, go on and buy it for $60. I wouldn't really recommended, right? That is not the point of this video. The point of this video is that I tried this again. It felt like really cool after I fixed it, because I fixed it back in the day and I never used it. So that was the thing. Like I have a lot of controllers that I just don't use, or like I use with very specific older consoles. And this one was one of the few that I didn't really give them a fair chance because of how annoyed I was originally with the D-pad. That it was so annoying for me. After I fixed it, I just didn't even bother to play. So definitely, if you have this, give it a chance. If you can find it cheap from Amazon or eBay, give it a chance if you want to. If you like this style of controllers, and definitely what it offers for a low price, I don't think you can find anything like this, because mechanical buttons, almost nothing else have it. Tournament modes, almost nothing else have it. Low acceleration point controls, none else has it. And yeah, I believe that all these things with the extra buttons and everything, it just has so much to give. It never got the attention it had, because probably Street Fighter 5 didn't really need extra macros for some specific stuff, and just maybe people thought immediately the D-pad is trash and never really gave it a fair chance. Actually, no. This is false. It doesn't matter if they give me a fair chance. If they couldn't fix the D-pad, then the controller is kind of useless. So, with all that being said, please let me know what you think about this controller. Have you ever used it before? Do you think it's a good idea to try it? I will definitely give it a fair chance and start playing a little bit more of it, specifically on console. Not mostly on PC, but on console, to see how it feels overall. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, you can like it. If you love the content I make, you can subscribe. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a great day. Goodbye.